Prabhat, my dear listeners and my dear friends. A very good morning and a warm welcome to all of you to listen in my videos which I am sharing, and also I welcome you in the third segment or third installment of the master's life, where we are continuously reading for few last weeks on each Friday about the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa Dev. So we came to know how we came to know the divine conspiracy. We came to know the birth and the infancy of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa Dev. I must correct myself. It will be the fourth installment of the Kalpataru, the life in the segment of the life of masters. So now let's proceed from infancy to boyhood, and we would cultivate some uh, memorable incidents which took place in the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa Dev. So let's start. Boyhood. When Gadadhar was 7 years old, the simple, quiet life of Chatterjee family was suddenly interrupted by a sad event fraught with great consequences to Gadadhar. In the year 1843, Khudiram developed symptoms of indigestion which soon turned into chronic dysentery. His strong body became emaciated, and in his 68th year he had not vitality enough to check the growth of the disease. The autumn season arrived. Every year Khudiram's nephew Ramchand celebrated with great pomp the Durga Puja festival at his home at Salempur. Khudiram usually attended. This year, apprehensive of the dark shadow looming in the future, he hesitated about going. But on second thoughts, he changed his mind and set out with his eldest son, Ram Kumar. A few days after his arrival at Salempur, his illness took a serious turn, and on the fourth day of the celebration he became unconscious. unconscious. Ramchand was greatly concerned. Realizing that Khudiram's last moment had come, he called to him the name of Raghuveer. At the mention of his holy name, Khudiram suddenly became conscious and asked to be helped up to a sitting posture on the bed. He then uttered the name of Raghuveer thrice and expired. Ramchand and his family were overpowered with grief at the death of Khudiram. His body was taken to the bank of the adjacent river, and the last rites were performed according to the usual custom. The sad tidings reached Kamarpukur and cast an unspeakable gloom over the Chatterjee family. To a Hindu wife, the death of her husband, who is her visible God on earth, is considered the greatest misfortune. Chandra Devi was now virtually dead to the world, laying aside all the enjoyments of life, of which indeed she had very few. She concentrated her whole energy on prayer and meditation, and looked eagerly to the day when she would be united with her beloved in the other world. This event unnerved Ramkumar as well, upon whose shoulders now fell the entire responsibility of the family. He had to look after his widowed mother, educate the younger brothers, and manage the domestic affairs in keeping with the traditions of the family. The death of Khudiram brought a great change in the mind of Gadadhar also. Every day he felt the loss of his father more and more. The striking contrast between his father's character and that of other people began to dawn on him. His naturally thoughtful mind became graver, though to the observer he still retained his usual air of youthful merriment. No one observed that the boy began to frequent the mango grove or the cremation ground in the vicinity alone, and pass long hours there, absorbed in thought, not that his attention was focused more than ever on Puranic recitals and the making of clay images of gods and goddesses. Besides, there was a marked change in Gadadhar's behavior towards his mother, finding that she desired great solace from his company. He spent some time every day in helping her in her household work or in the worship of Raghuveer. He also became less exciting in his importunities. He also became less exacting in his importunities, knowing she would be grieved if she could not supply his childish demands. He thought it his duty to lessen the burden of his mother's grief and to infuse into her melancholy life whatever joy and solution he could. The village of Kamarpukur, as stated before, was situated on the road leading to Puri, and in those days when there were few railroads, this route was much frequented by pilgrims, wandering monks, and other, mostly all on foot. The Laha family built a rest house for these wayfarers. Gadadhar soon found a new source of pleasure in the company of the sadhus. He delighted in their stories of various saints and different places and prayers and songs. He knew already of their unconventional life, their indifference to bodily pain or pleasure, their devotion and resignation to God, and their contentment with whatever food came to them. The boy was beginning to be conscious of the transitoriness of the world. Contact with the monks strengthened his feeling. He delighted in spending hour after hour with them, listening to their religious discussions, learning songs from them, joining in their prayers, and sometimes even partaking of their meals and assisting them by fetching water or collecting fuel. They took a great fancy to him. Chandra Devi did not object. She rather rejoiced at this association of her son with the sadhus and thought that their benedictions would be beneficial. But one day she was startled when the boy came to her with his body smeared with ashes. He had torn his clothes into two and wrapped both pieces around his loins like copines. Look, mother, he said with a smile, I have become a sadhu. The mother was anxious, for she had heard of pretended monks who, in the guise of ascetics, tempted boys and kidnapped them. She asked Gadadhar to shun their company. The boy, failing to convince his mother of the utter baselessness of her apprehensions, at last agreed to obey her and went to sadhus to bid them farewell. They were surprised and pained to hear of the mother's fears and went to her house to assure her of the safety of her boy. Association with these itinerant monks and listening to their readings from the scriptures inclined the naturally emotional mind of the boy more and more to meditation. So, we find him in his boyhood long before he passed through the terrible asceticism in the Kali temple of Dakshineshwar, giving evidence of the transcendental nature of his mind, its difference from the ordinary one. The following incident furnishes an instance of his deep religious bent. The goddess Vishalakshi, the the presiding deity of Anur, a village close to Kamarpukur, was held in great verena- veneration. Sorry, the goddess Vishalakshi, the presiding deity of Anur, a village close to Kamarpukur, was held in great veneration by the people of neighboring village as well, who often went there to redeem their vows on the fulfillment of their particular desires. She was reputed to be a particular person of the poor and the outcast as well as the cowherd boys. One day, a party of women amongst them Prasanna, the daughter of Dharmadas Laha, who was noted for her piety and great devotion, was on its way to Anur to worship Vishalakshi. Gadadhar insisted on accompanying them. Accordingly, he set out with them. As the party walked along, Gadadhar revealed the tedium of the journey with songs in praise of goddess. Suddenly, he was overcome with religious emotion. His body became stiff and motionless. Tear, Tears rolled down his cheeks, and he made no response to the woman when they called aloud to him in their fright. Not being familiar with the trance state, they thought he must have had a sunstroke. Some splashed water on his face, others fanned him, but with no results. Finally, Prasanna, in desperation, called upon the goddess for help. The name of Vishalakshi had been repeated only a few times when the boy showed signs of returning consciousness, and presently he was himself again, with no evidence of any harm having come to him. So, dear listeners, today I'm going to conclude this chapter uh, till this point, and we will read the next part of the boyhood stories is in the coming Friday. And I wish that you will be with me. You will encourage me with your gracious presence, as well as you will shower your support in terms of your subscription to my channel Shamoita Rupkathara, as well as uh, if you like my videos which I am trying to create, which I am trying to serve you, oh, so that somehow I can get some chance which will ease your life, which will make a little solace in your life. So that will be a great blessing for me. And also, thank you for making me a daily routine, a daily part of your life. Thank you so much. And I'll be leaving today, till now. And I really thank all my YouTube subscribers and listeners, as well as I'm really grateful to my Daily Hunt followers, as well as the listeners who are really bestowing their support on my contents, whatever I'm trying to make. Though I know uh, a very improvement I have to make in a very severe way, and I am trying. And thank you for being with me, for for supporting me in my this endeavor. So thank you to all, and tada.